You are not broken, your brain is adaptable, and that is your superpower. What if the deepest laws of physics and the quiet voice inside you were pointing to the same truth? Imagine rewiring your thinking so intention becomes action, and actions become destiny. This is not woo, it's neuroscience meeting the wonder of quantum possibility. In the next 21 days you will learn to change the circuits of your mind and reclaim your life. Welcome to the neuroscience of manifesting, where spirit and science walk together. Every day, millions wake up with intention but fall into old patterns, the same doubts, the same small choices, the same unfinished promise. The problem isn't willpower alone. It's the architecture of the brain, repeated pathways strengthened over years by habits, beliefs, and emotional memory. Neural networks fire along the grooves carved by past choices. Those grooves bias attention, expectation, and action toward what is familiar, which is why new visions can feel foreign or impossible. At the heart of the challenge is a triad: attention that wanders, emotions that hijack, and context that cues old responses. Attention wanders because modern life trains us to snack on novelty. We flit between notifications and shallow tasks. Emotions hijack because ancient survival circuits respond to perceived threat faster than our rational faculties can intervene. Anxiety, shame, and fear are visceral forces that override intention. Context cues old responses because the world around us, our environment, routines, and social scripts, repeatedly triggers the same micro-behaviors. The result is a mismatch between what we truly want and the systems that generate our daily life. Add to this the cultural noise, quick-fix promises, spiritual platitudes that ignore mechanism, and pseudo-scientific claims about instant change. Those messages breed shame when rapid transformation doesn't happen, and confusion about what sustained change actually requires. For many, the tension looks like this: a grand, luminous desire in the imagination, and a small, tired pattern in behavior. The gap between the luminous and the tiresome is not moral failure, it is a design problem. You can't coach a system that is wired against you with pep talks alone. You need a map of the system: how attention, emotion, and behavior interact, how the brain stores prediction and expectation, and how rewiring happens incrementally through repetition. Novelty and meaning. This is where science and spirituality can stop arguing and start cooperating. Spirituality has long taught that attention, ritual, and ethical alignment matter. Neuroscience now shows that the brain literally changes with practice. Synapses strengthen, circuits reorganize, and the dynamic balance between prefrontal control and limbic reactivity shifts. But those changes are neither instant nor mystical. They require principled practice. Part of the problem is timeline confusion. Popular culture sells 21 days to a new life slogans, while real habit formation depends on context, complexity, and emotional reinforcement. The good news is that with the right design, substantial rewiring can begin in weeks, and measurable shifts can appear quickly enough to motivate continued practice. The bad news is that sloppy methods and magical thinking waste time and erode faith. That's why the rest of this talk will give you a precise, tested pathway that blends spiritual meaning with neurobiological mechanics, practical exercises you can do every day, and emotional stories to remind you this is human work, not a checklist. We begin with a discovery that changed everything. The discovery. When scientists peered into the living brain, they found something radical: the adult brain can change. Neuroplasticity rewrote the story of fixed intelligence and immutable habits. Instead of a static organ stuck at puberty, the brain emerged as a living terrain that responds to experience, stress, learning, and attention. Synapses strengthen with repeated co-activation, new dendritic spines sprout when learning demands them, circuits rebalance after injury, and even new neurons can be born in certain regions under the right conditions. This biological adaptability explains why therapies, training, and contemplative practices can have long-term effects. It also reframes ancient spiritual practices. Meditation, focused prayer, and ritual were not only ethical systems but implicit training regimens for attention and emotional regulation. The discovery of neuroplasticity creates a bridge between contemplative craft and measurable change. Another important finding from behavioral science is the role of repetition and context in habit formation. Habits take time, and the time varies widely depending on complexity and environment. The popular idea that every habit forms in exactly 21 days is a simplification. Real-world studies show a broad range of schedules for automaticity. What matters more than a fixed number is consistent, context-linked repetition paired with emotional reward. In plain language, A small practice that you do in the same place, with the same cue, and that gives you some satisfaction is likely to stick. Neuroscientists also discovered that emotion acts like a spotlight. Emotionally charged experiences are encoded more strongly and retrieve more readily. That's why practices that integrate meaningful feeling, joy, gratitude, calm resolve, have more traction than coldly stated goals. The quantum side of the bridge is more subtle. Quantum mechanics tells us that at microscopic scales particles behave in ways that defy classical intuition: superposition, entanglement, probabilistic outcomes. Popular culture has sometimes misapplied those phenomena to claim that mere thought directly collapses reality, but rigorous physics does not support simplistic metaphors. Yet metaphors can be powerful. Thinking of your intention as a field that focuses attention and prepares your system to notice certain possibilities aligns with both contemplative practice and predictive brain theories. Predictive processing models suggest the brain constantly anticipates sensory input, attention tunes prediction error, and thereby shifts learning. When you intentionally inhabit a new model of what is possible, you change prediction patterns and become more likely to notice confirming evidence and take aligned action. Combining these discoveries, neuroplasticity, habit mechanics, emotions role, and predictive attention, yields a practical framework. It says, change is biological, not magical. It needs repetition, context, emotional calibration, and clear attention. But it also says there is an elegant spiritual dimension. Intention, meaning, and ethical constraints shape not only the content of change but the quality. This is the discovery that makes a 21-day commitment plausible as an initiation, not a miraculous cure. With the right method, 21 days can seed new circuits and produce measurable momentum. With the wrong method, 21 days becomes a yo-yo. We will now move from discovery to the method you can use. The method: translate the discovery into a method that fits human brains and busy lives. The method I offer blends 5 pillars: clarity, attention practices, emotional calibration, behavioral alignment, and environmental cues. Each pillar maps to neurobiological mechanisms and spiritual practices so that manifesting becomes a practical technology. Pillar 1. Clarity. Begin with a precise statement of what you want. Vague wishes scatter neural resources. Write a clear intention in first person, present tense, with sensory detail. For example, I earn $5,000 a month from creative work by June, is clearer than I want more money. Clarity helps your predictive systems form a target. Pillar 2. Attention practices. Practice deliberate attention daily. Short sessions of focused breathing, visualization, or open awareness for 10 to 20 minutes train prefrontal circuits and increase the signal-to-noise ratio of thought. Use counted breaths, anchored visualizations, or mantra repetition to stabilize attention. The point is not to avoid thought, but to return to the chosen focus again and again. Pillar 3. Emotional calibration. Learn to hold strong emotion without being overtaken by it. Use naming techniques. When fear rises, name it, "This is fear." Then breathe and bring curiosity. Emotional labeling reduces limbic intensity and recruits regulatory prefrontal networks. Also cultivate positive feeling deliberately. Gratitude journaling for 2 minutes after practice creates hedonic reinforcement, making the new pattern more attractive to repeat. Pillar 4. Behavioral alignment. Pair inner practice with micro-actions that reflect the intention. Neural change depends on action. If your goal is to write, commit to one 15-minute draft every morning. If your goal is connection, text one person with genuine care each day. These micro-actions are the synaptic workouts that anchor new narratives in behavior. Pillar 5. Environmental cues. Design triggers that make the new practice easy to remember and hard to avoid. Use time, place, or objects. A mug that signals morning reflection, a calendar block that reserves 10 minutes, an accountability partner who checks in. Replace context cues that sustain old habits. Move tempting objects out of sight. Rearrange your workspace. Choose social norms that support change. The 21-day protocol. For the next 3 weeks, do the following every day. Morning, a 5-minute clarity statement aloud, followed by 10 minutes of focused breath or visualization. Midday, a 1-minute emotional check-in, naming the predominant feeling and applying a breathing reset. Evening, a 5-minute gratitude and micro-action log where you note one concrete micro-action taken that day. Each day add one micro-action linked to your intention and make it repeatable within context. Practice accountability. Share a daily update with a partner or in a private journal. Adjust difficulty so the habit is achievable. Mastery emerges from consistent completion, not heroic efforts. Gentle curiosity about failure replaces harsh judgment. If you miss a day, return without moralizing. This method is designed to create predictable neurobiological effects. Repeated attention strengthens circuits, emotional calibration reduces noise, microactions produce behavioral learning, and environment scaffolding reduces friction. It also honors spiritual depth by inviting ethical alignment and meaning-making. So your practice is not just about outcomes, but about becoming the kind of person who can hold those outcomes responsibly. Now we move to what happens when people apply this method. The transformation. People who commit to this method report a pattern of transformation that is psychological, behavioral, and relational. Psychologically, the fog of indecision lifts. When clarity and attention synchronize, cognitive load decreases. Fewer competing narratives occupy working memory, making decisions easier. With repeated practice, habitual negative self-talk loses its seamless pull. The prefrontal cortex learns to observe and redirect critical loops. Behaviorally, microactions accumulate into visible milestones, skill improvements, new social connections, better health markers, or steady income increases, depending on the target. These changes create feedback loops. Small wins produce dopamine bursts that make repetition appealing, and tangible progress reinforces identity shifts. Relationally, aligned behavior invites different responses from others. When you consistently show up with steadiness and clarity, people trust you more, and opportunities that were previously inaccessible become available. The transformation is rarely dramatic overnight, but over weeks it becomes undeniable. Consider an emotional story. A woman named Maya felt stuck for years in a job that drained her. She started with a 3-week commitment, morning clarity statements, 10 minutes of breath, and 1 microaction, sending 1 proposal per week. She reported no miracles in week 1, but by week 3 she had stopped ruminating every evening and felt a steady calm arrive each morning. By month 2 she had 3 new clients and a confidence that felt earned. Her change came from small, consistent acts that rewired attention and built new professional competence. Another story. David struggled with social anxiety. He used naming and breathing to reduce limbic hijack and paired it with microactions. 1 short conversation at the coffee shop each day. After 4 weeks, the panic that used to swell before any social moment reduced from a 10 to a 4 on his internal scale. The transformation was not only reduced fear, but a growing sense of agency. These stories illustrate a pattern. Small, targeted practices change the system that generated the old problem. The nervous system reorganizes around new expectations. Your attention habits bias you to notice supporting evidence. Your behavior accrues competence, and your emotional life steadies. There is also a spiritual deepening for many practitioners. As the mind settles and choice becomes habitual, people report a greater sense of purpose and connection. Manifestation shifts from chasing outcomes to cultivating presence and ethical alignment. When desire is fit to capacity and guided by compassion, manifestation becomes not only about getting but about becoming. Crucially, transformation requires consistency, honest self-inquiry, and patience. Expect setbacks, iterate your method, and treat practice as a continuum. With the method, 21 days become a powerful initiation that seeds larger change. Now let's cast this personal work into a broader mission. The mission. The final section frames this work as more than personal benefit. It is a mission to expand collective possibility. Individual rewiring aggregates. When individuals commit to cultivating clarity, emotional maturity, and aligned action, communities shift. Imagine neighborhoods where people practice presence, workplaces where microactions create consistent ethical behavior, and online spaces that celebrate intentional growth over performance. The mission transforms manifestation from a private wish to a public ethic, to manifest what serves the whole, not merely the self. This requires an ethic embedded in the method. Clarify not only what you want, but why you want it and who benefits. Ask whether your desire increases well-being in your network. Use your manifesting practice to cultivate virtues, generosity, patience, honesty, and courage. Practical next steps to scale this mission include forming practice groups, running accountability circles, or teaching micro-trainings in workplaces. Start local. Invite 5 people to a 21-day experiment where each person commits to a micro-practice aligned with a shared value, such as compassionate communication or community cleanup. Track small wins and celebrate them publicly. The social reinforcement multiplies individual change. Technology can help too. Shared apps for daily check-ins, community calendars for group rituals, and forums for storytelling keep momentum. But avoid performative metrics. Emphasize sustained, private practice as the root. There is risk in making manifesting into a sales pitch. The mission resists commodification by foregrounding integrity. If your practice does not increase empathy and contribution, refine it. The deeper aim is a cultural shift where inner discipline and outward service co-arise. On a planetary scale, if millions adopt practices that increase emotional regulation, attention, and aligned action, the ripple effects could alter civic discourse, reduce reactionary behavior, and enable collective problem-solving. This is not abstract optimism. It is a plausible social dynamic grounded in behavioral science. Small changes aggregate. Your role in this mission is simple and mighty. Commit to one micro-practice for the next 21 days. Do it with honesty and curiosity, and share what you learn with a small circle. As you transform, invite others not by preaching but by modeling steady presence and by teaching simple, accessible practices. End with this promise to yourself. Do the work without attachment to immediate results, but with devotion to sustained integrity. Manifestation done well is a path of becoming, a reform of attention, a training of emotion, and a choreography of action rooted in sympathetic service. If you're ready, start now. Write your clear intention in first-person present tense. Commit to the 21-day protocol: morning clarity, daily attention practice, midday emotional check-in, nightly micro-action log. Share your commitment with one person and report back every week. If you want a guided PDF, a 21-day checklist, and a short audio for the morning practice, click the link below to download the free kit and join the next live group. Subscribe for more episodes where we dig into science, interviews with researchers and spiritual teachers, and weekly guided practices. If this episode helped you, comment with your one intention, and share it with someone who needs a practical bridge between spirit and science. Rewiring is possible. Manifestation is doable. Start the work, and let your life become the evidence.